The NFL schedule has been released, and now people are relieved. They know the pathway to a championship, even though they already knew those teams had to play anyway. There's something about that release. We'll talk about that and more here on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open, and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
It is your team every day here on Locked On NFL. We thank you for making us your first listen. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On NFL PM version of the show. And as normal, it's Thursday, so that means Chris Carter from Locked On Steelers and the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette is joining me as my co-pilot. We're going to land this thing at some point, somewhere where hopefully you'll have a lot more NFL knowledge than you had before you got on this journey with us. All right, we free to subscribe to wherever you get podcasts, whether you watch or listen. Make sure you tap into those locations each and every day so you do not miss an episode. Shout out to the everydayers and to the first timers. All right, let's explain our journey here. We're going to end up talking about, is it a bit of overkill, or is it good marketing for the NFL to allow each individual team to put their own spin on the release, the schedule release? Prime time players. Who are the people or the teams that the NFL is sitting up out front for everybody to see the most? It ain't going to really surprise you. And a roadmap to the championship, we'll talk how come so many teams or so many people feel like they absolutely need to know the order of the games in order to determine how many games that team's going to win. Chris Carter, we're going to start right there at the very top. Eagles and Chiefs sitting there trying to figure out a way to get back to that championship game. Chris, I'm going to play a clip before we even start talking from Lou Ridbiase from Locked On Eagles, and I want you to hear what he has to say about the schedule release, because I always think the champion gets the first word.
All right, guys, I think we all got to use the game time app and get down to Tampa Bay week 4. Eagles, Buccaneers, that is the most interesting game on the schedule to me. We have real demons to face. Eagles, Buccaneers in Tampa just never goes well. 2024, a blowout loss week 4, almost caused another collapse early on in the season. 2023, blowout loss in the wild card round of the playoffs. 2021, blowout loss in the wild card round of the playoffs. 2018, you head to Tampa Bay in September and Deshaun Jackson destroys your defense. The Eagles need to make sure they take care of business this time against the Bucs in Tampa Bay, especially when you look at the tough stretch at the start of the schedule. You go Cowboys, Chiefs, Rams. That Tampa Bay win is going to be very important in staying on track early in the year. Let's get down to Tampa Bay, download the Game Time app, use the promo code SCHEDULE, and get $20 off your first purchase. Let's all do it together. Let's go face these demons in Tampa Bay head on.
Chris, when I saw this schedule, I thought about that game because last year I said before the playoffs started, once we saw the teams, there was one team in the NFC that had beaten both the Eagles and the Lions, and that was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's going to be a good little game for them, especially considering the way that schedule starts.
No, definitely. I think it's going to be really interesting when you look at what the Eagles have. Like, look, the NFL scheduled some fireworks to start off the season, right? Like, you get Cowboys at Eagles. I don't care what anybody says about the Cowboys and when the Cowboys play the Eagles, there is hatred. I went to Chain University, the first HBCU just outside of Philadelphia. Whenever the Cowboys played the Eagles and I had a chance to just sit by and just watch their fans just kill each other, it was better than the game itself because of that. The hatred is so deep there. So when I look at Cowboys Eagles, I'm like, that's fireworks. Then you mean to tell me the very next week they have to play the Chiefs in Kansas City in week 2 coming off of it? Like they get no rest. They're like, okay, Super Bowl champs, yeah, come and show us that you're still the Super Bowl champs. Oh, and by the way, the week after that, you got to play Sean McVay. Oh, by the way, the week after that, you got to play Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay, and like Louis said, that could be in trouble. Oh, by the way, week after that, you got to play the Broncos. You might not get a reprieve. You might not get a reprieve until you're on the road playing the Giants in October. So the Eagles get no rest. But hey, this is what you get when you're the champs. You're divisional champ. You're a Super Bowl champ. You're going in divisional champs. You play the best team in each division when you're matching up across the board. That's what it is. That's what you start. And look, I think the Chiefs are built. I think the Eagles are built for it. This is the kind of team that they want to be. Now they just got to be that team consistently. Oh, by the way, the week after that Giants game, they're on the road playing the Vikings. So
yeah, man.
they got a schedule to see it.
You got to be built for it. And Julian Council reminded me this past Monday. No team has never won the NFC East in back-to-back years, consecutive years. And this is the kind of stuff you see why nobody's ever won that division. It's been years. If it's ever happened that teams have gone back-to-back. Since we talk about winning teams, let's start with the team that didn't win the Super Bowl. Let's go out to KC and listen to the boys from Locked On Chiefs talk about their start.
Patrick Mahomes is the face of the NFL. That's just the reality. He's been in 5 Super Bowls in 7 years. What are you going to do? Kansas City is that team that is going to be looked at as the perennial Super Bowl contender until Patrick Mahomes is in a Chiefs uniform, which hopefully is a long time away. So at this point, Kansas City is going to get preferential treatment in some ways, and then in other ways they're going to be put in prime time. And again, I think the thing that really stinks about it is that you take away the ability of regular people that don't have the extra subscription services to go and watch some of these games.
Listen, that's like saying for a long time that Babe Ruth was the home run champ. He wasn't. It was Barry Bonds. And people they aren't the champions anymore. Philadelphia is. And you know how Philly's the champion? Because they whipped you. They beat you up. So ain't nobody thinking that they're the perennial champions. In fact, y'all got blown out a couple of times. Ain't nobody thinking they're perennial champions. I'll tell you what, my favorite game of the year is week 5 when they come in here for Monday Night Football in Duval County. I'm going to tell you why people they love the Chiefs and the Cowboys so much. Because the NFL knows that it's fatigue. Because of stuff like that, there ain't no perennial champions. It's fatigue. We want to see y'all get whooped. That's why they put them on TV. Because outside of Kansas City, everybody wants to see you get beat because y'all sitting there thinking y'all perennial champions after y'all just took a 30-something point knot on your head from the Eagles. Come on, man.
No, I feel you on this. Look, their points, Ryan and Chris, they do a great job on Locked On Chiefs. Mm-hmm. Their point is absolutely correct. Patrick Mahomes is a superstar. You put the superstar on the big screen. But to your point, the part of being a superstar is having the hatred. It's because when you win so much, they hate us because they hate us because we hate us. That's a real factor. Like that's why LeBron has so many haters in the NBA. That any team that becomes a dynasty eventually develops people that want to see them lose. Even
Pittsburgh, it happened to y'all.
The Steelers. When the Steelers was winning everything, people hated the Steelers. Man, I'm so tired of seeing them always in it. I need to see them fall off. The Patriots were there for the longest time. I think you look around, people are starting to feel that way about the Dodgers in baseball. When you become a dynasty, people want to see the dynasty fall if it's not their dynasty, and because there's also like the rise of the little guy. Like everyone likes the little guy story. Everyone likes the Rocky story. It's like, look at this guy that he's the little engine that could, and they finally did it. And that's what the Chiefs were when they first won, right? The Chiefs hadn't won a Super Bowl since Hank Stram. They hadn't been. It was such an awesome story, and I was saying back then, I'm like, this team's pretty good, and that guy's pretty prolific. And if y'all ain't careful, they could be the new Patriots. And that's listen, right. They aren't yet. They aren't yet. They've done the first half of the Patriots. They've won 3 Super Bowls. But remember, it took 10 years for the Patriots to go back and win their next 3. So it wasn't like that they had. If they keep Patrick Mahomes around and they're able to keep building and they're able to, there will be another nucleus, another shot at it. But absolutely, people want to see the fall of the Chiefs at some point, which is part of it. But whether it's the fall or the continued dominance, they are a premier ticket, which is why they get 7 primetime games.
I remember we were at a gas house in Germany. It was 1:00 in the morning. Gas house is a bar when I was in the military. And 2 dudes lit up. They said, one guy lied about how fast he ran the 40-yard dash. So he said, we'll settle this. Y'all go race in the parking lot. Parking lot in Germany is gravel. Okay, they were beered and liquored up. My dude said, I want to see who wins. I said, I don't. I want to see which one of those joker trips and falls. And you're right, Chris. People either want to see you win or they want to see you make a spectacular fall. And ain't nothing like watching 2 drunk dudes run at 1:30 in the morning because you know a fall is on the way. But you're right. Those dudes do a good job at Locked On Chiefs. You know what we do? We start trouble. This is the barbershop, man. That's how we have to play it, man. We have to have our little bits and skits here. But no, when you're on top, man, and that's just the way that it goes. I want to see what it feels like as a Jaguar fan. I know some other people who do too. We'll talk about some more games that have been released around the National Football League. We'll do that in just a second here on Locked On NFL. Today's show is brought to you and sponsored by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs is something else, man. Teams getting beat you ain't even think was going to get beat. It's in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a time to get in on the action better than right now for the NBA. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, same-game parlays, fans have way more than ever, a lot more reasons and a lot more information to make them smart, and they can win big because of it. I'm telling you, you better put your money on Ant-Man. Anthony Edwards is the real deal, and everybody's looking forward to him getting to the finals and going up against SGA one-on-one. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Kicking around here with my man Chris Carter in the second segment of Locked On NFL. Lots of scheduled stuff coming along. We were just talking about people love to see people fall. There's one team that has been falling. Well, actually, they haven't. You know what? They've been pretty good. People keep reminding me they keep winning 12, 11 games. But for some reason, the Dallas Cowboys haven't won a championship in over 30 years. So there's nobody more entertaining from failing than the Dallas Cowboys. Check out what those dudes have to talk about their schedule.
The NFL's 2025 schedule has just been released, and Dallas Cowboys fans are going to want to hop on Game Time quickly to secure tickets to this critical stretch of games that they will be playing. Hi, I'm Landon McCool with the Locked On Cowboys podcast, and starting from week 12 to week 15, the Cowboys play a brutal stretch which may make or break their season. It starts with the Philadelphia Eagles. They will play the opener, as many people have heard, in Philadelphia, but this stretch on week 12 they play at home, and then they follow it up with playing the other Super Bowl team in the Kansas City Chiefs, also at home. That game is on Thanksgiving. They follow it up with two tough NFC contenders, including a game at Detroit, a team that destroyed the Cowboys last year, and then a really good, revitalized Minnesota Vikings team that is going to get their rookie quarterback and looks to be a contender this year. Make sure you guys download Game Time and check out the pricing on all these games because they are going to go quick.
Man, we got a good slate of games, man, for Turkey Day, Thanksgiving. Green Bay and Detroit early. Then, as you just heard, Kansas City at Dallas. And then later on that night, if y'all ain't sleep from a belly full of dressing, stuffing, ham, and macaroni and cheese, the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Baltimore Ravens. The NFL does it right when it comes to these big games and these holidays. It seems like this year they got this right, Chris.
I mean, yeah, it's tough to argue. Packers, Lions, Chiefs, Cowboys, Bengals, Ravens. I mean, those are all big name games. And I think it's part of it benefits that the tradition has always been Lions Cowboys, right? Mm-hmm. There was a time where growing up in the 90s and the 2000s where like the Cowboys is exciting, but the Lions one was always like the one that was the one that you could sleep. And like if you could just like if you ate like a light breakfast, you could take a nap before you got to your food, and that was the one that you could sleep on, and everyone would tune in for the Cowboys game. But now the Lions are a premier team. And so they have premier opponents in the NFC North, which might be the best division in football. I look at that. Packers Lions is awesome. Chiefs Cowboys is just that's meat on the bone for you there. Key franchise versus key franchise. If the Cowboys are in it this year, a reminder: no team has won the NFC East back to back in over 20 years. So like the Cowboys could be that team this year, just based off of the way the NFC East has rolled the past several decades. And then Bengals, Ravens, I mean, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, it sells itself. So listen, man, the NFL, when I tell people that the NFL is the king, the unheralded, like the undisputed king of sports, it's because they can create these easy headlines. Again, we all watched live schedule release shows. Who does that anywhere else? Who cares whether or not the Nuggets play the Warriors on on Christmas Day, and that's a little bit of a hype behind it. Like when that was like, okay, but like every game, it's like, oh yeah, I mean, look at us, we're doing another scheduling show right now. Like that's
now, bro.
So look, man, I'm just hyped about it. But this is the power of the NFL is that they have now developed so many superstars and so many teams that are on top of the crown jewel franchises that it is easy to sell every single week with there's something that you want to watch.
No doubt about it. It very much is. And those usually start with those marquee players. They usually also start with the teams that people love and the teams that are polarizing, like some people love them, some people hate them. We'll talk more about some of the marketing things because the Jaguars did something very clever with theirs. But we are going to close that night with the Bengals and the Ravens. And I think people forget because the Bengals kind of slipped up lately. I think people forget how these are some entertaining games, man.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a couple of years ago, remember when Lamar Jackson was out and the kid tried to jump across, he was going to seal the game. And I think it was Trey Hendrickson got the ball and ran it all the way back for a touchdown. I'm just saying, these are some very, very entertaining games. And that will be one too. Here's Kevin Ostracker talking more about the Ravens and what their schedule looks like for them.
The Baltimore Ravens season could be won or lost in the first month of the year, and Game Time is the place to go to pick up all your seats that you can for these games. Exciting games. Week 1, it'll be Buffalo. Week 2, Cleveland. Week 3, Detroit. And Week 4, Kansas City. Now, Buffalo's obviously where Baltimore ended their season last year. They will travel back up to Buffalo to play the Bills. Then in Week 2, it'll be their home opener. Could be Joe Flacco at the helm for Cleveland, who is obviously Baltimore's former starting quarterback. Week 3, the Lions are one of the top teams in the NFC and are always a tough challenge. And then Week 4, Kansas City is that team that Baltimore has been trying to catch, and they will travel up to Kansas City to try to get revenge for the Week 1 game last season. So if you want to head over to Game Time right now, you can download the Game Time app and use code SCHEDULE for $20 off your first purchase. A lot of exciting games on the Ravens schedule, and Game Time is the place to go to try to get all the seats you can. So Baltimore's looking for a strong start to their year, and hopefully it'll be a good one for this Ravens team.
Now, I know you ain't got no sympathy for the Baltimore Ravens, but you are an honorable man who tells the truth. Doesn't it seem like Baltimore always playing tough games week after week? Last year, bro, I promise you, I had to look down at the paper. I'm like, what? Is Baltimore just like running the gauntlet of tough teams or something? It's like they're in Sing Sing or Alcatraz and they have to fight these teams one by one. Or am I just making it up, Chris?
Welcome to life in the AFC North. The Steelers go through the same thing every single year. And the thing is that the Ravens have won the division more times in the past few seasons. So, yeah, they're going to get the number one team from every division that they play. And listen, part of it is they get to play the NFC North, which is the other really good division in the NFL right now. So if you're the Ravens, not only do you got to play the Steelers twice, and the Bengals twice. We can forget about the Browns. The Browns. You got to play the Texans, so you got to play C.J. Stroud. You got to play the Chiefs, and again, like the Steelers, like when you're looking at playing around like in these other divisions, the Steelers now they get to play the Chargers because they were the second best team. The Bengals get the Broncos, so like that's part of what happens when you win your division. You got to go out there and you got to play the top dogs, like how the Eagles got to play. Look at this. Look at the start of the year for the Ravens. They start off against the Bills. They get the Browns in week 2, but then they get to host the Lions. They get the Chiefs. They get the Texans. They get the Rams. That's 4 your first 5 games are against teams that are Super Bowl contenders. So like that's kind of what you're looking at for there if you're the if you're looking at the Ravens. But again, this is what happens when you win, when you're good. The question will be, can Lamar Jackson get this team over the hump? And I feel like it's unfair to put it all on Lamar Jackson because I think he's done a lot to put this team over the hump. He needs other playmakers with him. They signed to keep Derrick Henry. He needs a prolific pass catcher, a receiver, a playmaker through the air that can be a dynamic player by themselves. Not just Zay Flowers, being shifty and good. I think Zay Flowers is a good, even very good player. He needs an elite playmaker in the passing game. That is what he has not had his entire career. Now, when I say elite, I mean like Antonio Brown, Calvin Johnson. Get him one of those guys. Devontae Adams. Get him one of those guys. One of those guys that's in Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson's category right now. And then all of a sudden, I promise you, Lamar Jackson will be. Everybody, wow, that's all you need. Yeah, it's because that's what like Tyreek Hill was a big part of what helped Patrick Mahomes in his early years. Travis Kelce has been a factor there. And now that those guys have fallen off, the Chiefs need their great defense to keep them in that conversation. So I think Lamar Jackson, he needs the Ravens to come through and to help him whenever he's not able to just carry the whole team on his back, because he's done that a lot over the past, what's it been, 7-8 years in the league now?
Yep. Just catch the ball, hold on to the ball. Lamar Jackson should not have to play perfectly for people to give him the grace.
Mark Andrews.
Yeah, Mark Andrews. Put your toe down, likely. You know what I'm saying? All of those little things. All right, so two teams whose name begin with the letter B, the Bills and the Bears, have different outlooks on the season. That Bills one, though, we're going to get to, it really ain't about them. It's more like about Carolina. But Buffalo treats Charlotte like it's second home. We'll talk about that and more in just a second here on Locked On NFL. All right, third and final segment here. We're talking about the schedule release. All right, so look, I think the NFL did a good job with this, because a lot of people are like, man, why don't we can just come up with something better to do? And I'm thinking, like, why y'all saying we need to come up with something better to do? We were all doing it together individually, and it worked. The Jaguars had my man Ashton Hall, who I've had the privilege when he was a younger man to cut his hair. Ashton Hall, if y'all don't know, is the muscle guy with the process, dipping his face in water. And the Jaguars talked about their process as they use Jacksonville native Ashton Hall. So good on them and good on him. I think the NFL barely misses or rarely misses when it comes to an opportunity to market and promote itself. Real quick, what'd you think about it? Did you enjoy it, Chris?
I mean, so I had to do my own live release show, so I didn't get to the whole. Yeah. I didn't get to watch all the funny videos that everyone did live, like everyone else was doing. I'm always on Channel 11 WPXI here in Pittsburgh doing their live schedule release show. But it is fun because, again, like, it's the fanfare of, you know who your opponents are, but now you get to see when it happens, and then you also get to start booking tickets. Like right now, I'm telling you, we're looking at how to be trying to get to Dublin, Ireland next year. So like, that's it's part of the excitement there, is like, because also NFL fan bases are so not just their cities, right? Like in Pittsburgh, whenever people say, oh, Pittsburgh travels well, because the Steelers fans can be found whenever they're in LA, whether they're in Miami, when they're in Phoenix, they're always there. It's not that they travel well, it's that they're just living everywhere. They're just all over the freaking world. Yeah. And that's just part of what it is. And when you look at that, that's part of why it's important to have these opportunities, because now, you know, what these people are doing, they're trying to see, how can I get to a Steelers game this year? I have friends of mine. I want to put their names out there because they're you know, I don't want to put their names out on the internet like that. But they're San Fran based, and they are the most diehard Steelers fans out there. Like they know, like their kids growing up used to be able to tell me which games in the 90s, before they were even born, were the best games of the 90s, were Cordell Stewart and things like that. And they always pick, hey, either we're going to Pittsburgh or we're going to another city to go experience the Steelers that year. And it's just, it's part of what you do. And it's not just the Steelers. Everybody has that. The Cowboys fans have that. The Bills fans have that. You know, there's so much of that. And the schedule release gives you that chance to say, all right, I know where it is, what I'm doing. This is what I got to do to get there and see my squad.
Glad you said that. Everything has its own identity. The draft, the playoffs, this free agency, and now this. Somebody else who's going to have their own identity, the Chicago Bears, because you can't talk about the Bears without talking about Ben Johnson and the Lions. Chicago has their own identity. My man Lauren Cox is going to talk about the schedule release right here.
The NFL did a great job putting all of the Chicago Bears' biggest games on the schedule this season in nationally broadcast windows. And you can get tickets to any of those big games with our friends at Game Time. It starts out in week 1 as the Bears host the Minnesota Vikings on Monday Night Football. The debut of J.J. McCarthy coming against the debut of Ben Johnson. Everyone's going to be watching to see what Caleb Williams does in year 2 against another quarterback in his own draft class. Then keep that trend going in week 6 against the Washington Commanders on Monday Night Football. The Caleb versus Jaden Daniels showdown. The rematch of the Hail Mary game last season. It'll be nice to get that monkey off of the Bears back. Later in the year, you get the Philadelphia Eagles on Black Friday, and the very following game, you get the Green Bay Packers in a Saturday window. All of those exciting games you can get to in person with the Game Time app. Get your tickets, download the Game Time app, and use our promo code SCHEDULE for $20 off your first purchase.
Of course, you'll have people complain about they're trying to force Caleb Williams down our throat. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. The dude was the number 1 overall pick. And what they're doing is they're giving him a canvas to paint his picture. Whatever that picture is going to be up to him and the Bears. But all the NFL doing is setting this thing up to show what these young quarterbacks can do.
Absolutely. I mean, you kind of need, because here's the other thing. Even though Caleb Williams isn't, a dynasty like the Chiefs, when you're the number 1 overall pick, there's a lot of people that are rooting for you to fail. And that's not, I'm not saying that's a good thing. That's, it's part of the nastiness of the world. People love to make fun of you when you fall flat on your face. So whether or not Caleb Williams, if Caleb Williams turns into the next Patrick Mahomes, great, awesome. That's going to be a great story. But if he falls flat on his face or is just mediocre, either way, it's going to be a big story. And the NFL is going to give him every chance to do that on the brightest lights possible, because that's part of the spectacle here. Again, this is a dog eat dog sport. What either you're winning and you're eating steak and lobster, or you're losing and you're eating Chipotle back at home. So
or noodles, right?
Or just straight up ramen noodles. Yeah.
Ramen noodles, baby. Ramen noodles.
But that's my point, is that Caleb Williams, it may be unfair that this is all on him so early in his career, because this is his second year in the NFL. He's gonna have a new coach. Maybe it is unfair, but it's the reality, and people are gonna have put expectations on him being the first overall pick, and all the hype that was built into him for years in college football. I mean, I remember hearing about him, people were saying that's going to be the guy, that's the next Patrick Mahomes, for multiple years before he came out. And so his first year, he wasn't that. So this year, he's got to be closer to that. He's got to take a step forward, and whether it's a step forward, a step back, or stagnation, it will be a big story for the NFL to highlight.
Yep. And then if he plays better and he improves the Bears, that would mean no bad teams in the NFC North. And
that'd be scary.
Yeah, that's like the North and the North. If we could ever get Cleveland right, boy, all those teams could come up a little bit. But you mentioned something earlier. The steel mills closed. The play-by-play voice here in Jacksonville is Frank Frangie. He's a kid. He lived in Pittsburgh. He grew up. He moved here when he was 10. He says it's not that they travel well. He says that steel mills closed and everybody's just spread out across the country. That's one of the reasons. And then they were the team in the 70s that were winning a lot.
Yep.
Another situation is Charlotte. There are a lot of people from Buffalo that live in Charlotte. Julian Council tells me about it all the time. In fact, he has marked that game as the game between the Bills and the Panthers. It's the game he wants to see. Check this out.
The Panthers' Week 8 matchup versus the Buffalo Bills is by far their most interesting game in 2025, and Game Time can get you there live and in person. And guys, I cannot wait for this game come Week 8 this season, as the Panthers, the hometown team here in Charlotte, face off against what's also become, unfortunately, the hometown team here in Charlotte and the Buffalo Bills, legitimate Super Bowl contenders. A chance for Bryce Young in his third year, his second season working with Dave Canales, to show that he has arrived as one of the top tier quarterbacks in the NFL. And just for this organization as a whole, it has not been the playoffs since 2017, to announce itself to the entirety of the league that it's not just NFC South contenders, that it's NFC title contenders, and dare I say maybe Super Bowl contenders with the win against Josh Allen, the reigning MVP, and the Buffalo Bills. Download the Game Time app and use code SCHEDULE for $20 off your first order.
Listen, man, I said last year, they were the team outside of Denver that surprised me the most. And when I say they, I'm talking about Carolina. They looked really, really respectable at the end of the year, and I think they had a really, really good offseason too. They might finally be on to something up there, Chris.
Maybe they are. They did start to catch a little bit of stuff at the end of the year. Yeah, still 5-12, long way to go there. But they won 2 of their last 3. And Bryce Young is the whole thing here, right? Because Bryce Young is another one of those guys drafted really high. Hope he's hoping, the franchise is hoping that he turns it around. You look at the way that they won those games. They beat the Cardinals 36-30 in overtime. They beat the Falcons 44-38 in overtime. So they needed the offense to take flight in those games. Now, granted, those aren't exactly premier teams you're beating there with the way that you're doing that. So right. There's still skepticism here. I mean, heck, there's skepticism here with whether or not the Panthers are actually do it. But hey, big name, a young quarterback try to prove himself against, Josh Allen was once that guy that needed to prove himself against people. So, I think there's a chance for that. And you look at the schedule that they have to open. Jaguars, you covered that team, the Cardinals, the Falcons, the Patriots, the Dolphins. They on the other hand, this is the benefit of being in third or last place in your division. You get to play some teams that aren't so top notch, and so they have a chance if they can come into the year and Bryce Young is firing on all cylinders. Maybe they start off 4-1, due to the year, and they could get into the start of the season. Then you play the Cowboys and the Jets, and then you get to that Bills game. And if, let's say the Panthers have ascended, let's say that Bryce Young has arrived and they're ready to take their step forward, they could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of 7 games. They could be a 5-2 team playing the Bills, and if they pulled off that upset, that's like makes them a 6-2 team. And then all of a sudden, everyone's like, "What's up with the Panthers?" But again, you got to hit the ground running. You can't mess around. When you mess around, you miss those early games. It's going to put onus on you to win some of those tougher games late, like the Bills, like going on the road to the Packers, like hosting the Niners, like going to the Niners, hosting the Rams, playing the Buccaneers twice. They got to strike while they can.
You got to strike while you can. You are absolutely right. A lot of new players and new places, a lot of undrafted free agents on these teams. If y'all need to know about your rosters or the rosters of your ops, make sure you check out Locked On NFL Scouting with Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino. They'll give it to you like you can't get it anywhere else and make you the smartest fan in the National Football League. Make sure you check out Locked On NFL Scouting wherever you get your podcast. As always, we will see you later. Chris and I will be back next Thursday. We'll be here tomorrow also on Locked On NFL. Make sure you check us out. Check Chris out on Locked On Steelers and myself on Locked On Jaguars. Until then, you guys take care. We'll see you next time.